December 7th, 2019, Los Angeles, California. It's the final seconds of the deciding Game 5 of King of the Hill in the semi-final of the Clash Royale World Championship between Team Liquid and SK Gaming. These next few seconds will determine the next world champion. But how did we even get here? And who are these guys anyways? You might know what's about to happen, but in order to fully grasp the magnitude of this moment, we must first rewind. The journey of these two players leading up to this moment couldn't be more different. Let's first start with Surgical Goblin. 2017 was definitely the year of the Goblin in Clash Royale. For 9 entire months, Surgical dominated every major Clash Royale event. Despite a brief slump in form in November that unfortunately cost him a spot at that year's World Finals, Surgical was still considered by many to be the best player in the world. So when Supercell announced that competitive Clash Royale was moving to a teams format, it was no surprise that Surgical was quickly picked up by one of the most storied orgs in the world, Team Liquid. And with the acquisition of top French player Azilis, Diego B, who was in the form of his life, and young prospects Boofmac and Juicy J, Team Liquid was looking like the odds-on favorite to dominate the inaugural season of the European Clash Royale League. Morten, on the other hand, was still relatively unknown. His first breakthrough came at the CRL Combine hosted by Supercell in order to give teams the opportunity to scout new talent. And scout they did. Morten placed second in his group and joined Mad01, Mitcha, and two other Germans, Floby and Luai, on SK Gaming. This team wasn't expected to be a frontrunner of the region as it didn't have any big stars, but with the brand new format for the league, nobody was quite sure what to expect. The expectations for Team Liquid Super Team were set really high. The goal of being inaugural European champions was firmly in their sight. A decisive 2-0 victory over Fnatic in their debut game solidified their ambitions. In the next matches though, their work would drastically turn around. They would only win 1 out of their next 5 games, falling to a 2-4 record halfway through the season. They attempted to turn things around by giving Boofmac more playtime, but despite a slight improvement, their losses to weaker teams such as the 2-12 Misfits and especially their double defeat at the hands of SK would see the star-studded lineup captained by Surgical Goblin out in group stage. A colossal failure for Surgical and the ambitious org. Throughout the season, Morten had quickly established himself as the leader of SK. He played in almost every 2v2 set for the team and also had a top 5 win rate in 1v1 games. The CRL playoff format was a gauntlet, structured so that the lowest seeded team started at the bottom of the bracket and had to win multiple consecutive matches against higher seeded teams in order to reach the final. With SK narrowly squeezing into playoffs over Team Liquid, most people didn't have high hopes for their gauntlet run. However, SK continued to overperform. They beat Allegiance in the quarterfinals, G2 in the semifinals, and despite losing out on a world final spot to a stacked Team Queso team, SK and Morten in particular made a huge name for themselves. With the 2019 CRL season rolling around, Supercell would make the decision to combine the European, North American and Latin American regions into the newly formed CRL West. With a disastrous first season, something needed to change at Team Liquid. Azilis and Juicy J departed and G2's breakout star Canario joined. The Team Liquid roster for the split consisted of Surgical, Canario, Diego and Boofmac. Despite coming second last season, SK also made drastic changes in their roster. Everyone but Morten was dropped for the first season of CRL West. The German XOP Sam was picked up as a dual partner for Morten. Soaking and the 2017 world champion Sergio Ramos was SK's answer to the 1v1 problems of last year. Fans of both orgs were excited to see what their revitalized rosters could do in the extremely competitive West scene. The two best teams from the region would have the chance to represent the West at the World Finals at the end of the season, and both teams had their eye on those slots. An extremely competitive split would see the 6 playoff teams separated by just 2 wins. SK's 8-3 record was enough to secure the first spot in the group stage, while Liquid's superior tiebreakers earned them the second spot. Liquid beat the former North American champions Immortals in the semifinals of the Gauntlet to set up a finals against SK, the first of 3 high-stakes matches between these teams in 2019. Liquid was just the better team on the day, and they swept SK 3-0 to earn the CRL West crown for the spring split. SK fell just short of yet another title, but Team Liquid was finally at the top where they belonged. With the second of 2 splits quickly approaching, both Team Liquid and SK were looking to solidify their slots as the 2 top teams in the West. SK simply replaced Soaking with yet another Spaniard, Javi 14, who had been performing very well in 1v1 sets and had already been to the World Finals last year with the Latin American Vivo Keith. Team Liquid had to say goodbye to Buffmac, who felt underused. They tried to pick up 2 replacements in the face of Surge TS and Egor. Unfortunately, neither of them got to play, as Surge TS went unpicked and Egor had visa issues. This effectively left Team Liquid as a 3-man roster, which worried a lot of fans. SK was flying in the fall split. 10 wins in a row would see them secure the top spot of the region easily. Liquid managed to overcome the issues they faced and secured the 3rd spot in the group stage. In the playoffs, exceptional play from the core trio of Team Liquid saw them dispose of Fnatic and Team Queso in order to earn the golden ticket to World Finals and a rematch against SK to determine the fall spring champion. At the 3rd time of asking, SK would finally come out on top. Morten was essential to the team's success, and his 90% 1v1 win rate had a lot of people calling him the new king of Clash Royale. So here we are at the biggest Clash Royale event until date, the 2019 CRL World Finals. Team Liquid and especially SK were looking like tournament favorites. This was also the first World Finals for both Surge and Morten. It seemed that if one of them was crowned world champion, the GOAT debate would be settled. Controversially, the seeding of the finals was done through a mini 1v1 tournament between the teams. SK managed to capture the number 1 slot, giving them a bye in the first round. A cruel twist of fate would see Team Liquid's quarterfinal match versus the Korean OG and Entus being drawn on the same side of the bracket. An all-West affair in the finals would not be possible. TL had some good news as Egor finally made it to LA. He didn't waste much time and in his first ever set swept the Korean roster in King of the Hill. Despite dropping the 1v1 set, TL beat OG and Entus and advanced to the semis where their fiercest rival awaited. The CRL West Spring Champion versus the CRL West Fall Champion, in the minds of many, the 2 best teams in the world. Whilst this was only the semi-final, everyone knew that the winner of this match would most likely be crowned world champion. No big surprises in the 2v2 set as both teams put out their most iconic duos. Morten and Sam Slavadex would prove too hard to handle for Surge and Canario, and the quick 2-0 would give SK the first set. In the do or die 1v1 set, Team Liquid put all their trust on the Red Horde Igor, while SK hoped Javi would close out the match. Game 1 would see Egor surprise Javi with an uncharacteristic Sparky deck, giving him the 1-0 lead. The second game would definitely be a foreshadow, with Igor's P.E.K.K.A barely edging out the graveyard deck from Javi. Another 2-0 sweep sends this game into the deciding King of the Hill set. The lineups were Sergio Ramos, OP Sam and Morten for SK versus Canario, Egor and Surgical Goblin. This is without a doubt the most important King of the Hill set in Clash Royale history. In Game 1, Canario's Hawk Earthquake Inferno decimated Sergio Ramos Lava and Team Liquid got off to an early lead. Game 2 didn't look ideal for Canario as he had Golem versus Sam's P.E.K.K.A. But through some brilliant defense and some over-aggressive pushes by the German, Canario just pulled off the important victory. Team Liquid now led 2-0. Canario was the hero. Morten now faced the impossible task of defeating 3 of the greatest Clash Royale players to ever step into the arena back to back. His World Championship dream was surely over.
If there's anyone who can clutch this thing up right now, it's Morten. A lot of damage in from those blobs, the reduced time, but that's going to mean more expenditure in the pocket. Are the units far enough away? Wow, the low goblin cage. And Morten gonna take down Canario and keep SK Gaming alive. Morten doing exactly what you'd expect in that miner, but this time not with the bandit, instead with the ice golem, and that allows a lot of damage to come in for Morten. Final 40 seconds, miner to the inside spot, that's going to be Tower. Igor takes his first loss, but much more important, Morten now, one game away from the reverse sweep. We're going to see a battle of titans. It's going to be Morten and Surgical Goblin for a shot at finals.
Through sheer determination and infinite aura, Morten beat both Canario and Egor. The reverse sweep was truly on. All that stood between Morten and Clash Royale immortality was Surgical Goblin. The two had never faced off in a 1v1 match in Clash Royale League. This was the very first time on the biggest stage imaginable. One singular game to write history. One singular game to determine the GOAT. So let's look at the game. Surge and his coach Eric opted for the safe pick of P.E.K.K.A. as Morten had already played 2 beatdown decks in a row. Morten went for a slightly off-meta Graveyard Inferno Quick Cycle deck. Surgical had Poison, which would allow him to counter Morten's Graveyard very easily, but on the other hand, Morten had several counters for the P.E.K.K.A. and the Mega Minion was really tough for Surgical to deal with. Neither player had a significant matchup advantage. It was all going to come down to execution. Both players started very cautiously, not wanting to make a crucial error in the biggest game of their career. Surgical got off to an early lead in single elixir through a Magic Archer connection. Morten wasn't too worried though and didn't rush into any aggressive plays. The first big opening of the game came when Surgical seemingly predicted Morten's skeletons, allowing a bandit to connect to the tower. From then on though, Morten started to slowly chip his way back into the game by playing some of the most picture-perfect defense you will ever see in such a high-stakes game. So here we are, 20 seconds to go. Surgical leads by the slightest of margins. 3 years of hard work will culminate in the next 20 seconds. The next 20 seconds will decide which of the two kings will finally be crowned. This is the greatest moment in Clash Royale history.
Yard down, and now Surgical Goblin going high with the Royal Ghost. Bandit trying to defend against Graveyard. Skelly's trying to get to the tower. Poison is down, but we have Morten in the lead. If he gets the snowball down and Surge zaps, he still wins. Inferno Tower high. Magic Archer gets a shot. Connecting. Magic Archer gets another shot. Morten trying to get Graveyard on tower. Poison gets down. 780 full on. 1 HP. 1 HP. Oh my God. Surgical Goblin does it. Liquid's going to the final. 1 HP. That's all it took. And that is about as hard